How is it going, my magnificent sons of bitches? And I'm back again to go ahead and do another relatively quick video. This video is probably not going to be very long. However, if you're still on Twitter, I mean, if Twitter hasn't completely suspended or banned your channel, because ultimately all of these um, big tech companies are largely run on the opinions based on millennials and whatnot. So they're not, how can you consider this platform a social media? It's more like an anti social media platform for a lot of these platforms. Now, if wanted to trend something like white systemic terrorism or whites are hate and whites is bigotry and all this other kind of ridiculous, divisive shit from the left's point of view, well, then ultimately that's totally allowed on these platforms. There's no telling how many of these uh, larger platforms go ahead and totally um, advocate for any of the BLM protests and the violence that tends to ensue or any left wing violence propaganda bullshit out there. And the sheer fact that basically people that are in these communities call out this violence, well, at that point in time, they have to be suspended. Oh, your speech can't tolerate it if it's against us, and that's just ultimately the way it is on the interwebs here. And that's why you don't see a lot of organic traffic on the internet. This is why people kind of taking a back seat, particularly like on these big tech platforms like YouTube, like Facebook, like Twitter. The traffic is just not organic. It's not organic at all. So, I mean, ultimately, people, here, you really can't take seriously on the internet. To a large degree, this is what makes it easier to troll. Now, there's some people who can troll, and there's other people who can't. Like I did the video with Dark Horse the other day and kind of figured the saber rattling and the definitive position that I take on Chris Benoit, I figured, oh, okay, if like Raimi and the Smart Busters and Robbie and all of you people out there that want to sit there and call me a conspiracy theorist have such an issue with our position on Chris Benoit, then by all means, go ahead and jump on your little YouTube channels and do another video where you're like, oh, he's crazy. And then you can take my picture, put tinfoil hat on it, and then make it seem like, hey, this isn't tired, from 2013 trolling tactics and whatnot. But, for the most part, it appears that my whole generation has now triggered the internet. What's left of the internet, there isn't much left to it. I mean, right now, the internet it is pretty much a skeleton of itself. There isn't a lot of organic traffic going on anymore. There isn't a lot of exchange of ideas and people having honest dialogue here or making memes. There isn't as much entertainment as it used to be, probably back even 3 or 4 years ago. Now it's kind of flat, it's kind of dry, it's kind of boring. You have people talking about booty cheeks on sports memes and stuff, and this is supposed to be the height of, these memes that the left make. They put billions and billions of dollars, these millennials, into making a meme, and the meme usually tends to fail. The psychological operations that were capable in the media and stuff back in the past in the entertainment, just whenever you're talking about a market of ideas, whenever you're talking about an open market of ideas, the left can't compete. Commies can't compete. You know what I'm saying? They're going to rely on curriculum while everybody else relies on the obvious. You know what I'm saying? You have people out here who put in the work, and this is largely Generation X, because whenever you look at Generation X, including myself, most of the people that I went to school with, including myself, went into the military in some shape or form. And if they didn't go into the military, they developed a trade. Whether they were a welder, a farmer, a plumber. A lot of the people that was actually kind of popular. A lot of the people followed crafts that their family instilled. Carpenter. I know a lot of these people who work in a lot of these trades, and they had a trade. But somewhere along the lines, um, liberal arts became the desired ambition from a lot of these people. I still hear a lot of these, especially like Gen Zers, who, if you're going to follow the millennials example, then I got some bad news for you. That ultimately we could sit there and see how this mindset of the millennials, and to a degree, to some degree, the boomers as well, but definitely the millennials, that they're entitled. They don't want to put in an honest day's work. You can go back and listen to Stephen Rose. I mean, he's a manager at his local Walmart down there, and he works with a lot of millennials. He works with a lot of Gen Zers. Himself is a Gen Zer, and he tells me the same thing: is that this generation, they don't want to show up to work. They don't want to put in any effort. They want to go ahead and get the gains and reap the benefits and think, oh yeah, I've got a lot of money, yada yada yada, even though they don't understand that the value of that dollar is going down. They don't want to put in the effort, but they want everybody else to go ahead and put in effort. I guarantee you, if they were to say go to a store and their fucking soy milk isn't on the shelf, well, they're going to complain. It's a double standard from these people. And so it's funny that now they're irritated because overwhelmingly Generation X, as a generation, overwhelmingly. And whenever I looked at the graph wasn't even accurate, because technically, if you're going to go by Generation X, it would be from 43 to like 64 or something like that right now, would be the age of Generation X. So they went from 45 to like 64, I think. But technically, Gen X is from 43. If you're 43 on up to 65, technically that makes you a Gen Xer. So with that being said, actually 43, is it 43? No, it's 42, I think. 42 to 64. That's, 42 to 64 is Gen X. So with that being said, you have a lot of these people on the internet right now that are, having mental breakdown because Gen X largely supports Republicans. If you want an example of what a Gen X politician looks like, because believe it or not, we don't have that many Gen X politicians. We have a number of millennial politicians, and we have a number of we have a shitload of boomer politicians. If you want to look at a boomer politician, you look at your Nancy Pelosi's, and you look at your Joe Bidens, you look at your Mitch McConnell's. Those are boomer politicians. Those are the boomer politicians that we have right now in Washington, D.C. Then you go into like the millennials, which you have like your Dan Crenshaw's, your Eye Patch McCain's right there, which are really similar in mindset and thought process to your boomers. And then your Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's, your Rashida Tlaib's, those are all the millennials. But you don't really have a fair representation in Congress as far as it pertains to the generations. However, there are a few, Gen Xers that are in Congress. I'm not exactly sure if Rand Paul is a Gen Xer, but he has the same thought process as a Gen Xer. So it'd technically be the mindset that the Gen Xers, and he would be really close. I think that he may be a Gen Xer. But you look at Ron DeSantis, perfect example. A lot of people like Ron DeSantis and what he's done in Florida and whatnot. That's a Gen X politician. Tulsi Gabbard, who just flipped from the Democrats to the Republicans because she realized how absurd that Democrat. Well, she didn't flip to the Republicans. To be honest with you, I kind of hope she starts a better leftist party, because I honestly don't think that going to the Republicans is the answer. We need another party, and I think that Tulsi would be while I probably wouldn't vote for her because of her positions on some things, I think she'd probably be a more qualified candidate for a leftist candidate. You know what I'm saying? So right there, you can already tell that there's more coherency right now. There's more leadership capabilities in anything with the Gen X. Like I said, Gen X is about individualism. So they're not going to be into this fucking occult mindset of the millennials out there. Now you'll have some cookie cutter generic people on Twitter that'll say, "Oh, I'm Gen X," and we all vote. No, no. I mean, yeah, there are some of the fucking Gen Xers who would likely lean to vote fucking Democrat, but as a majority, our mindset is more based on individualism. And so the generic shit that comes out of both the boomers and the millennials, it just doesn't, we just don't, we're just unwilling to conform with those mindsets. And like I said, it's both on both sides of the Gen Xers. We're kind of like in between. Everybody says, "Oh, well, the Gen Xers and the millennials are the same," and ultimately, the people who say this are just lazy. They're just lazy to go ahead and do any research and look at demographics and look at it. They're just being lazy. And pretty much these are the same millennials that are writing your media, that are in control of these social media sites, that try to pretend. But like I said, ultimately at the end of the day, it's a it's almost like a history of failing. That's all it is. And the reason why it's they fail so much is because they've never had that, they've never had to overcome anything. Everything, the bar has consistently been lowered ever since these generations, from the millennials to the Gen Zers. The bar is constantly lowered to them. You know what I'm saying? Gen X, we still had to work for everything. We still had to, come up a lot of times. Our parents, both parents worked. We would have to take care of ourselves. We wasn't protected as much, and put in these little what do they call them now? What did they call them? Those safe spaces. We didn't have safe spaces. We didn't have safe spaces. So, like I said, it's all about individual freedoms and individual rights. Yeah, I think Scott would be considered a Gen Xer too. I think he's in it, and you see that Scott is going to probably vote for DeSantis. You know what I'm saying? Those are the traditional Gen X. That's the traditional Gen X mindset. And it doesn't matter whether you're on the right or the left. We could see that the formula is relatively the same. Even your best candidate that the Democrats had was Tulsi Gabbard, and even she went ahead and quit the party. So, yeah, the Gen X are going to lean a little bit more to the Republicans. Why? Because the Republicans are the modern day liberals. The Democrats certainly aren't any liberals anymore. They've already went past that. So to even go ahead and give them that title of being a Democrat, yeah, you can't, yeah, you're not a liberal anymore. Want everything given, not going out and taking what. I'm definitely in Gen X. I like DeSantis. But like I said, like I said, even with the leftist candidates, you're going to find the common mindset of, personal liberties, individual freedoms. It's not the hive mind. And see, the Tulsi Gabbard is a very smart, beautiful woman. Yeah. But it's like the hive mind. It's the hive mind. And you can't say anything. Why would I even want to be, why would I want to surround myself, right? Just as a person, why would I want to surround myself with people that are going to be so triggered by everything, that demand that you meet their standards when they've never had to live up to anybody else's standards? The bar has been lowered for you. When we played sports, we had to be good if we wanted to go ahead and get playing time. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't this equally rationed out player time and whatnot. And if you wanted a trophy, you had to earn it. I remember whenever I played Little League Baseball, we all got trophies. It was a third place trophy. Guess what? That trophy was a smaller trophy. The second place trophies got bigger trophies. The first place trophies got, even bigger trophies. But I got a trophy. I've won medals, but I had to earn them. And I didn't, some of them I got the gold in, some of them I've gotten the silver in. This was whenever I was taking the martial arts. But they just didn't say, okay, everybody gets a gold medal today. No, that's not the way that it works. You know, somebody had to win, somebody had to lose. And sometimes I won, sometimes I lost. So I meant, with this generation, with everybody that's in entertainment, this is why your entertainment is so horrible right now, is because, and this is ultimately what's affecting a lot of these streaming sites. This is what's affecting, because I know that right now, if my parents wasn't watching my HBO Max, I probably would have dropped HBO Max probably a few months ago, to be honest with you. They watch it, so it is what it is, and I'll probably watch it whenever Titans comes back on. But I would have dropped it because there really isn't a lot of stuff that I watch to justify paying that much money a month for it. To be honest with you, and I you look at it as a whole, and it's like you know that's why I don't get. That's why I didn't get Disney Plus. It's because I know that there isn't enough, and they've lowered the bar that now that their product sucks, and this is ultimately the product. What you're seeing right now with these uh fast food restaurants running out of burgers, with the store shelves being empty, with the service ending up being of lower quality. Hell, even here on YouTube and whatnot, the content is becoming lower quality. You get less quality in some of these video makers content right now, and more commercials in that. Whenever you're trying to research an issue or something, you'll have like about 4 or 5 commercials, and then the content just kind of falls flat. And I'm not saying that I'm knocking it out of the park on this channel right now. I'm not, not a big, but I'm not putting any effort into it like I would have back in the 2013s, 2014s to do original shit anymore. Why? Because the bar is going to continuously be lowered. They've already struck down one of my channels, so I mean, it is what it is. But they're fucking the millennials are scratching their heads. Why do Gen X routinely and overwhelmingly support the Republicans? It's because the Gen X are based on individualism. We're based on personal freedoms, not your fucking feelings, you know? And we don't want to conform to your lame ass shit. Why would I want to go ahead and surround myself with people that are so sensitive, that demand that I have to act like them, that I can't say certain stuff, that if I do, I should be held, over, but they're not going to hold themselves to the same standards. You know, they're, you know, they think that we're racist to some degree or extent, even though Gen X is the first, is the most diverse generation there is. It's the most diverse generation. We didn't have segregation when we went to school. We all just had to go to school with each other. We all had to understand each other. We all got along and had to play sports with each other. This is Gen X. Now, the where maybe back in the days during the boomer era they were overtly racist. Now they're subjectively, they're unconsciously racist going on. Like I think Todd Bowles for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just had some little millennial diversity hire in journalism ask him, does he and the coach for um, Philadelphia there, Mike Tomlin, do they have a good rapport because they're two black coaches and people look at them as this and yada yada. And he goes, I don't care. We don't think about color. We're thinking about coaching football. I have, friends that are black. I have friends that are white in football. And we don't sit there and look at ourselves any differently. But the fucking millennial, and this shows you how out of touch millennials are. She insists, oh, well, since the lack of hires and since the lack of, it is a big deal. No, it isn't. Stop making it a big deal. And a large portion of these people don't get looked at the same exact way. I mean, you look at the Mo woman stuff right now going on in Hollywood. The MCU is what she calls it, or what they call it. Um, what's You have a lot of these movies coming out. She-Hulk is another one where these entitled feminists put out utter trash, you know, and push their stuff out there, and people are getting tired of it. People are getting absolutely tired of it because I'm not required to like a movie solely because of its overrepresentation of females or overrepresentation of a black cast. Now you're going to push Black Panther out there. You're going to make it a black female Black Panther, and I can guarantee you everybody's already starting to look at this and say they're already starting to prejudge it. Why? Because you forced this crap and give us some substandard products for probably the past 4 or 5 years, that now people are going to sit there and judge it regardless if the female Black Panther is good or not, you know and this ultimately hurts. I think that Tatiana, or whatever her name is, that plays She-Hulk, a very attractive female. From what I see from clips, she looks like she's got a lot of charisma. There's a lot of potential to be had there, but you put a lot of angry fucking lesbian and feminist writers behind her and give her cringy dialogue. Well, it's gonna tarnish her. I think ultimately that's part of the thing that happened to Brie Larson. I like Captain Marvel myself, but ultimately that was what ended up, I think, hurting Brie Larson a lot, was these what you call social engineering issues that you try to put out, these wedge issues, ultimately to go ahead and protect the Democrats so they can be capable of what, inflating our currency, being incompetent, passing incompetent policies to go ahead and take our rights. But we should sit there and focus on gay rights, which gays already have rights, female rights, which females already have rights, and black rights, which black people already have rights. There's not any rights that these people don't have. Now you can sit there and cherry pick certain instances and cases and whatnot, and claim that that's no, it's not. You're absolutely trying to reinvent the wheel, like you're fight. This is the millennials though. So as a Gen Xer, whenever you see all this bullshit here, all the progress that they made from in Gen X, during Gen X, where people were not judging people by the color of their skin or their uh, sexual preferences or their gender. Now all of a sudden, when the millennials come back, they have to sit there and bring this back to go ahead and fight against it again, because they're too lazy to go ahead and fight, fight their own battles, to go ahead and fight other issues that could be occurring. They would rather go ahead and claim that they're fighting the ultimately the stuff that ultimately we've already fought. These are issues that we already fought. So, and I mean, you look at how they've kind of been protected, how they've, and like I said, for the most part, most of the people, well, you look at Tulsi, she was in the military. Fucking Ron DeSantis was in the military, just like I was in the military. A lot of the Gen Xers are prior service military people, and so that what you call it, that protective bubble that the millennials tend to put themselves in, it doesn't work for Generation X. You know what I'm saying? We had to go through a lot of hazing. We treated each other, but it wasn't aggressive. But we said a lot of insulting shit to each other, but it was in a term of endearment from people that you had a rapport with. You know what I'm saying? It was playful banter, and it wasn't hurting anybody. Now they've become so sensitive that there's no way that ultimately this is the direction that it's becoming. It's almost like, if you look at it, it's almost, you take these viruses and stuff, how the body is becoming less tolerant to these viruses This is exactly what the left is becoming. This is exactly the direction that they're taking the country. Is that they're having less and less tolerance. Well, I can guarantee you that anybody that's going to come into this country and engage, want your resources and whatnot, they're not going to give a shit about your tolerance. They're just going to walk right over you. This is your great videos when you are passionate like CM Punk when he gets angry. Well, I saw this on Twitter, and then I saw the fucking millennials having a breakdown over it, saying, "What's wrong with Gen X? You're what's wrong with Gen X. You're what's wrong with Gen X." And before you, the boomers are what's wrong with Gen X. It's funny that they want to go ahead and take a portion of your income, like some, what is it, 22, 23% or whatever fucking ridiculous. Joe Biden, I'm sure, is going to push that up. But they want to go ahead and take a portion of your income and redistribute your income to people who make bad life choices and, don't want to, they don't want to contribute anything, but they want to be entitled to your pay and to your, well, if you're going to sit there and take my checks and you're going to give it out and redistribute it, and then I want these people to have to do some sort of contribute some sort of labor for that welfare. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if it's sitting there filing fucking papers or whatever the hell. They should be required to go ahead and produce some sort of labor for that check. You have a lot of government spending going on. You have a lot of government programs that you could go ahead and cut a lot of pay to if you go ahead and offer them the free services from these people that are on a lot of this shit. I didn't even have feelings till I was 17 years old. That's how I had to be. Yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis is considered a liberal SJW. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that Jamie Lee Curtis is also a boomer as well. I don't think that she's I don't think that Jamie Lee Curtis is actually a Gen X. She might be a Gen X, but if she is, she's right there on the cusp. But I'm pretty sure that Jamie Lee Curtis is actually a boomer, so it actually misses Gen X. Have great said too. Great minds think alike. My mouth. Yeah. And see, that's why, a lot of these people, especially like almost and I guarantee you, it doesn't matter if they lean Democrat or if they lean Republican. Because I know a Gen Xer, as a matter of fact, Jasmine No Thanks. She's a Gen Xer. She's a Gen Xer. She's probably like 42, 41, 42, something like that. I don't know how old she is. But she's a Gen Xer. And you know, she gets banned just like we get banned. Summer White, she gets banned. Gen Xer, and yeah, she's probably going to lean more towards voting Trump. She's more of the Trump. Scott's a Gen Xer. Scott, you're a Gen Xer, right? Both Scotts are Gen Xers. At least Scotty Hall said that he's a Gen Xer. Scott Casey Gale says that he's a Gen Xer. And I guarantee you, both of those guys are DeSantis' guys. What's up? I was born in 2001. What do you consider? That's Gen Z. You're the same as Stephen Rose. And y'all are under the influence, immediate influence, I guess you could say, from the millennials. But if y'all don't do something pretty soon, then this country is going to continue to get worse and worse. Because, like I said, right now, there's no resistance in the millennials. They're right now, they're in that generation of, you can't say anything. Everything has to be done this way. And if anything, and like I said, the bar has been lowered for them. It's, a hive mindset, where the Gen Xers are a little bit different. Like I said, they call us the latchkey generation. A lot of us grew up in where two parents worked in the household, so a lot of us were hanging out together, getting into a lot of trouble. We got into a lot of trouble and whatnot. And yeah, it was just, we spent a lot of time alone. We wasn't as conditioned as the millennials are. I was born in '79. That's okay. So yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I knew you were because you're only a year younger than I am, Scott. So I knew that. I knew you were a Gen Xer. But I'm not talking. I'm talking about Scott Casey because I'm not sure what year he was. You're right. Us Gen Zs, we need to do something. Yeah, y'all need to definitely kind of detach from the millennials and try to find your own identity. I'm not saying get behind Gen X, you know what I'm saying, but develop something for your own. I mean, the good thing about Gen X is that we had a lot of everything was teamwork. We played a lot of team sports. We had a lot of sports. And you look at our so yeah, both the Scotts are born in '79, so they're both well established Gen Xers. I think '80 is the last year for Gen X actually. So so yeah, and you'll see it. It doesn't matter. Summer was born in '77, 1 year before me. So she's a Gen Xer, and it's the same way. All of us, tend to not like the left so much, and yeah, like I said, you look at your DeSantis, you look at your Tulsi Gabbards, you look at your Ron Pauls, or Rand Pauls, not Ron Paul. You look at your Rand Pauls, you look at those guys that are right there and that were born in the '70s, and they're your best politicians out there right now. Your most logical, pragmatic. Florida is absolutely in a better shape than, say, a lot of the other states around here because they didn't bend the knee to the fucking CDC. They stood their ground and they kept Florida open. And Florida is better for it, regardless of what the millennials will make up, because we know that millennials basically their whole thing is virtue signaling and lying, making up shit, over exaggerating shit, being overzealous people. They feel like they have the market under control, whatnot, and it should be bend to their will. So I mean, it's that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't agree with you. But these are the people who are, assuming to be the leaders and what's best for this country and whatnot. And we could see that's anything further from the truth is the millennials being the saviors of anything. And it's going to be ultimately up to the Gen Zers to go ahead and make up their minds and their choice. Are you going to sit there and bow the knee to the collective uh, mentality of those that are in millennials that have been entitled, and put in their positions? A lot of them are diversity hires and shit. Or are you going to try and, come up with your own identity? Right now, ultimately, Gen Z is in the perfect position to go ahead and snatch up, whether it be in entertainment, whether it be in, media, news, whatever it is, and politics, and economical and all that kind of shit. Gen Z has the perfect opportunity to come in and push out the millennials because the millennials can't deal with resistance. So if Gen Z could come together and make themselves a little bit more, harden themselves a little bit more, come out and work. You work real hard, you put yourself in, become more team oriented, help each other out and whatnot. Because that's what Gen X used to do. We used to work together really, really well as a team. Whether we liked each other or not, we still came together for a common goal, but we still maintained our own individuals. I'd work with people, we just couldn't really stand each other, but we would work good together. You know what I'm saying? It'd be an accomplished goal. But after work, we would be doing our own things and living our own lives. Because we understood, we knew we had a goal there, and everybody wanted to go ahead and be good at what they did. Now you don't get that. Everybody's just buried into their phone right now, trying to live their lives on social media and stuff for people who don't give a shit about them. Half the fucking people that you're friends with on the internet that you've never met are probably not even real, or they're catfishing you. Just to be honest with you. There's very few of your friends that you have on the internet that are actually real. But you would rather spend more time going out there, putting on these shows and whatnot for people out there on the internet and whatnot, that probably don't care one way or the other, than putting in a hard day's work and, perfecting a craft or something, whether it be, in writing, acting, whatever, getting yourself and working your way up. A lot of people would rather go ahead and live the fake, illusion on the internet than actually put in any effort. Florida stayed open the whole damn time. That is what I would have done as well. He is a leader, but I think he's a state guy. He won't leave Florida just yet. Well, I mean, I wouldn't leave Florida for him, not for DC. Why would you fucking leave Florida for DC right now? DC is about to collapse. I'd probably hang on and wait. Well, there's no telling if at the rate we're going, if there's going to be a federal government left, for too much longer, because they've already killed it, between the boomers and the millennials in there. They've absolutely destroyed any integrity that DC could totally make a case for. So why would you want to run president of the United States whenever you've done so well by Florida right now? You'd be better off staying in Florida. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, the deal is that DC is going to have to get some sort of legitimacy behind them. They're going to have to get some more confidence from the public behind them, because even their own supporters, the left, the fucking Democrats, don't even trust them. So if the Democrats, that marginalized group of the 8 millions, most of them are probably fraudulent people that work in the State Department, but even that other 4 million, they don't trust you. Nobody trusts you at all. You don't have the confidence right now of your country. And so ultimately, what we're looking at is potentially not even having a centralized, federalized government for too much longer if it keeps on going like this. So it's destined to collapse, I guess, every great empire. Ever since I was little, I always wondered if Florida was a good place. Sure enough, it is. Yeah, right now it's probably definitely better than California, which, if you're a Golden State fan, I probably assume that you probably live in California. California used to be a great state back in the 90s. Y'all used to actually be red, and Texas was blue. And they flipped in the 90s. So technically, at one point in time, California, whenever it was coming up with Silicon Valley, it had Hollywood, they were technically Republican. They technically were a red state until the Democrats kind of just took over back in probably 2000 or so, after Bush got into office. And then all of a sudden they flipped blue. And so, and they've been blue ever since. And Texas has been red ever since. Seems like those two states can never get on the same page. California used to be a great state. Now it's Florida and Texas are the destinations to go. So it's going to be interesting. I'm pretty sure that, if the direction that California keeps on going that direction, then it's going to totally collapse. You already have a danger, with the agriculture market over there. Hollywood is over there, but the entertainment industry has been taking hit after hit after hit, losing a lot of fucking money because nobody wants to go see their leftist ideology bullshit out there, because California still thinks they're cool. The internet is kind of, you see right now, there's not a lot of organic traffic on the internet. So you look at, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, they're not as desirable as they once were. So, ultimately, we're talking about a total collapse of California if they keep on progressing, if they keep on going with progressive bullshit. Florida is the best place to vacation. I first went there in the 1980s, and I still love it with a passion. Texas and New Orleans are also great. I went to Florida probably back in the 90s sometimes. I've been to Orlando. It was okay, but I still prefer Colorado, but I like the mountains. I like the mountain air, the fresh. Anywhere where there's it's high altitude and the oxygen is better is just somewhere that's absolutely great. You know, I like higher elevation, better oxygen. You know, you just feel better. You know, it's just you have more energy. You're ready to go. Um, those are my preferred destinations. Florida's, you know, pretty cool though. I went to Florida. I was in Hawaii. You know, it is what it is. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. I gotta let my phone charge because it's almost dead again. You people tell me what you think. What do you think of Gen X overwhelmingly leaning towards the Republicans? I totally understand it. The Republicans are, you know, the more sane, best party going right now. And to, you know, the millennials out there that are butthurt, you know, hey, grow a pair of grow some genitals and get over it, you know? So, anyways, you people tell me what you think. You like, sub, do the shit YouTube tells me to do to get over. And for now, I'm out.